Imagine waking up tomorrow and feeling absolutely nothing. No sadness, no anger, no anxiety, but also no love, no excitement, no happiness. What if there was a way to simply delete your feelings, like removing a file from your mind? At first, it might sound like the perfect solution to life's pain. No heartbreak, no stress, no emotional suffering. But here's the uncomfortable question. If you removed your feelings, would you still be human? Because the truth is far darker than most people realize. Why we want to escape feelings? Human beings are emotional creatures. Every day, we experience a wide range of feelings: happiness, fear, anger, excitement, love, disappointment, and sadness. These emotions shape how we think, how we behave, and how we connect with others. Yet, despite how natural emotions are, many people spend a large part of their lives trying to escape them. Why is that? Why do so many people wish they could simply turn their emotions off? The answer lies in the way emotions can sometimes feel overwhelming. When we experience intense pain, whether it's heartbreak, rejection, failure, or loss, it can feel unbearable. In those moments, emotions don't feel like helpful signals. They feel like a heavy weight pressing down on our minds. Think about the last time you felt deeply hurt. Maybe someone betrayed your trust. Maybe a relationship ended. Maybe you worked hard toward a goal only to fail. The emotional pain in those moments can feel so strong that your mind searches for an escape. And that's when the thought appears: I wish I didn't feel anything. This desire isn't weakness. It's a natural psychological defense mechanism. When the brain senses emotional pain, it often tries to protect itself by avoiding or suppressing those feelings. This is known as emotional avoidance. Instead of facing the discomfort, the mind looks for ways to distract, numb, or escape it. Some people bury themselves in work to avoid thinking about their feelings. Others turn to endless scrolling on their phones, video games, or entertainment to keep their minds occupied. Some try to push their emotions down so deeply that they convince themselves they are not feeling anything at all. But escaping emotions is rarely as simple as it seems. Part of the reason we want to escape feelings is because modern culture often treats emotions, especially difficult ones, as problems to fix. Society praises people who appear calm, controlled, and unaffected. We admire those who seem strong and unshaken, while vulnerability is sometimes viewed as weakness. Because of this, many people grow up believing that emotions like sadness, fear, or insecurity should be hidden. They learn to suppress their feelings rather than understand them. Over time, this creates a strange relationship with emotions. Instead of seeing them as normal experiences, we start to view them as enemies, things that must be controlled, avoided, or eliminated. Another powerful reason people want to escape their feelings is the fear of vulnerability. Emotions make us vulnerable. When you care deeply about someone, you open yourself up to the possibility of being hurt. When you chase a dream, you risk failure and disappointment. When you trust someone, you risk betrayal. Vulnerability is uncomfortable because it removes the illusion of control. It forces us to accept uncertainty, and uncertainty can feel frightening. So some people try to protect themselves by emotionally shutting down. If you don't allow yourself to care too much, then rejection won't hurt as much. If you avoid emotional attachment, you won't experience heartbreak. But there's a hidden cost to this strategy. When we try to shut down painful emotions, we also reduce our ability to feel positive ones. Emotional numbness doesn't selectively block only sadness or fear, it dulls everything. Life becomes quieter, but also less meaningful. There's also a deeper biological reason we struggle with emotions. The human brain evolved to prioritize survival, not comfort. This means our minds are naturally more sensitive to negative experiences. Psychologists call this the negativity bias. Negative emotions like fear, anxiety, and anger tend to be stronger and more memorable than positive ones because they once helped our ancestors survive dangerous environments. Being highly alert to threats was necessary when survival depended on noticing danger quickly. But in the modern world, this same system can sometimes work against us. Instead of protecting us from physical threats, our minds react strongly to social rejection, criticism, failure, and uncertainty. A single negative comment can stay in our minds for hours, while compliments are quickly forgotten. Because negative emotions often feel more intense, people begin to see emotions as something they need to escape from. Technology has also made emotional escape easier than ever before. Whenever discomfort appears, we can instantly distract ourselves. Social media, streaming platforms, and endless digital content provide constant stimulation that keeps us from sitting alone with our thoughts. Instead of processing emotions, we often silence them with noise and distraction. At first, this can feel helpful. It gives temporary relief from emotional discomfort. But over time, constantly escaping our feelings can create a deeper problem. Unprocessed emotions don't simply disappear. They remain in the background of the mind, quietly influencing our thoughts, behaviors, and relationships. Sometimes they show up as stress, irritability, burnout, or unexplained anxiety. Avoiding emotions may delay pain, but it rarely eliminates it. Ironically, the more we try to escape our feelings, the more powerful they can become. Psychologists often compare emotions to waves in the ocean. If you try to fight the wave, it can overwhelm you. But if you learn how to move with it, the wave eventually passes. Emotions work in a similar way. They are temporary experiences that come and go. When we allow ourselves to feel them, understand them, and process them, they gradually lose their intensity. But when we suppress or avoid them, they tend to linger. Understanding this doesn't make emotions easy. Feeling deeply can still be uncomfortable and sometimes painful. But it also reminds us of something important. The reason we want to escape feelings is not because emotions are inherently bad. It's because we haven't always been taught how to deal with them. Learning to face emotions with awareness and acceptance is one of the most important psychological skills a person can develop. Instead of running away from feelings, we can learn to listen to what they are trying to tell us. Because emotions, even the painful ones, often carry important messages about our needs, values, and experiences. And once we begin to understand them, they stop feeling like enemies. They become guides. The illusion of emotional freedom. At first glance, deleting emotion seems like freedom. No anxiety before important decisions. No embarrassment after mistakes. No grief after losing someone. Life would feel calm, quiet, peaceful. But something strange would begin to happen. Without emotions, motivation disappears. Why work hard if success doesn't feel rewarding? Why build relationships if love doesn't exist? Why chase dreams if achievement brings no satisfaction? Emotions are not just reactions. They are fuel. They push us to protect ourselves, care about others, and pursue meaning. Without them, life stops feeling important. And when nothing feels important, everything becomes empty. The hidden role of emotions. Most people think of emotions as reactions, temporary feelings that appear when something happens in our lives. We feel happy when something good happens, sad when we experience loss, angry when we feel treated unfairly. Because emotions can sometimes be uncomfortable or overwhelming, many people see them as problems that interfere with clear thinking. But emotions are far more important than they appear on the surface. In reality, emotions play a hidden and powerful role in shaping nearly every decision we make. They influence how we perceive the world, how we interact with others, and how we navigate life's challenges. Without emotions, human life would look very different. To understand this, imagine trying to make decisions without feeling anything at all. At first, this might sound like an advantage. After all, emotions can sometimes cloud judgment. People often believe that purely logical thinking leads to better decisions. But neuroscience tells a different story. Researchers studying patients with damage to the emotional centers of the brain discovered something surprising. Even though these individuals could still think logically and analyze situations, they struggled to make even simple decisions. They could weigh every option perfectly. They could list all the pros and cons. Yet when it came time to choose, they became stuck. Why? Because emotions provide the internal signals that help us evaluate what matters. When you make a decision, your brain doesn't rely on logic alone. Emotions give weight and meaning to different options. They guide attention, highlight potential risks, and help prioritize what deserves action. In other words, emotions act like an internal navigation system. They tell you when something feels wrong, when something feels right, and when something deserves your attention. Fear, for example, is often viewed as a negative emotion. People frequently try to eliminate fear because it feels uncomfortable. But fear exists for a reason. Fear alerts us to danger. It prepares the body to react quickly in threatening situations. Your heart rate increases, your senses sharpen, and your body becomes ready to act. Without fear, humans would take reckless risks without recognizing potential consequences. Similarly, sadness often carries an important role. Sadness slows us down. It encourages reflection and emotional processing after loss or disappointment. When something important is taken away, whether it's a relationship, an opportunity, or a meaningful goal, sadness helps us acknowledge that loss. It gives the mind time to adapt and heal. Without sadness, people might move through life without fully processing difficult experiences. Even anger, which is often seen as destructive, has a purpose when understood correctly. Anger signals that something feels unfair or that our boundaries have been crossed. It pushes us to stand up for ourselves and correct situations that feel unjust. Of course, uncontrolled anger can cause harm. But the emotion itself carries information about our needs and values. Every emotion, even the uncomfortable ones, carries a message. Another hidden role of emotions is their influence on relationships. Human beings are deeply social creatures. Our survival throughout history depended on cooperation, trust, and connection with others. Emotions are the language through which these connections are built. Love encourages bonding and loyalty. Empathy allows us to understand the experiences of others. Gratitude strengthens relationships by acknowledging kindness. Without these emotional experiences, relationships would feel mechanical and transactional. Imagine a world where people interacted with each other without empathy. Conversations would lose their warmth. Acts of kindness would feel meaningless because no emotional response would exist to appreciate them. Emotions allow people to connect on a deeper level than words alone can express. They help us share joy, comfort each other in difficult times, and build trust over time. Another powerful role emotions play is motivation. Think about the goals you pursue in life, career ambitions, creative projects, personal growth, relationships. Behind each of these goals lies an emotional force. Hope drives us toward a better future. Pride encourages us to accomplish meaningful achievements. Passion fuels dedication and persistence. Without emotional motivation, life would lose its sense of direction. Logic alone rarely pushes people to work hard for long periods of time. It's the emotional rewards, satisfaction, excitement, fulfillment that keep us moving forward. In this way, emotions act as energy for human behavior. They push us to act when something matters and pull us away from situations that may harm us. Even moral behavior is strongly influenced by emotions. Feelings like guilt, compassion, and empathy guide people toward ethical decisions. When someone sees another person suffering, empathy triggers the desire to help. When someone hurts another person, guilt can motivate them to repair the damage. Without these emotional responses, moral responsibility would weaken. People might still understand right and wrong intellectually, but they would lack the emotional motivation that encourages compassionate behavior. This hidden emotional guidance system plays a role in nearly every part of life: decision-making, relationships, motivation, morality, and personal growth. Yet despite their importance, emotions are often misunderstood. Many people try to control or suppress them, believing that emotions interfere with rational thinking. But emotions and logic are not enemies. They are partners. Logic helps analyze situations, while emotions highlight what truly matters within those situations. When both systems work together, people make balanced decisions that consider both practical outcomes and human values. When emotions are ignored or suppressed, decisions may become cold, detached, and disconnected from deeper meaning. Understanding the hidden role of emotions changes the way we see them. Instead of viewing emotions as obstacles to overcome, we can begin to see them as signals to interpret. They reveal what we care about, what we fear, what we value, and what we need. In many ways, emotions are the mind's way of communicating with itself. They provide insight into our inner world. And when we learn to listen to them carefully, not react blindly, but understand them, they become powerful guides for living a meaningful life. Because emotions are not just feelings that pass through us. They are part of the system that makes us human. A world without feelings. Imagine an entire world where people no longer feel emotions. No jealousy, no hatred, no heartbreak, but also no kindness, no empathy, no joy. Conversations would become mechanical. Relationships would feel transactional. Parents would care for children out of obligation, not love. Friends would exist, but the bond would feel hollow. Society might appear calm on the surface, but underneath, something essential would be missing. Human connection. Because emotions are the invisible threads that hold people together. Without them, the world would feel cold, distant, and strangely empty. The dark truth about emotional deletion. The idea of deleting emotions can sound incredibly appealing. Imagine never feeling heartbreak again. never experiencing anxiety before a big moment, never carrying the weight of sadness, regret, or disappointment. Life would feel lighter, calmer, quieter. For many people, especially during painful times, the thought of simply removing emotions feels like the ultimate solution. If feelings are what cause suffering, then eliminating them should eliminate pain. But this is where a dangerous misunderstanding begins. Because emotions are not separate pieces that can be removed one by one. The human emotional system is deeply interconnected. It works like a complex network, where every feeling is linked to others in ways we often don't realize. When people imagine deleting emotions, they usually picture removing only the painful ones: sadness, fear, anger, guilt. But the mind doesn't work like that. You cannot selectively erase emotional pain without affecting the emotions that bring meaning and joy. The same psychological system that allows you to feel sadness is the one that allows you to feel happiness. The same vulnerability that makes heartbreak possible is also what allows love to exist. If you remove one side of the emotional spectrum, the other side weakens as well. This is the first dark truth about emotional deletion. You don't just remove suffering, you remove depth. Think about the most meaningful experiences in life. Falling in love, achieving something after years of effort, forming deep friendships, feeling proud of personal growth. These moments feel powerful because they exist on the same emotional spectrum as struggle, fear, and vulnerability. Without emotional contrast, experiences lose their intensity. Joy feels powerful because we understand sadness. Courage matters because fear exists. Love becomes meaningful because loss is possible. Take away those emotional risks, and life begins to flatten. Experiences become neutral rather than meaningful. Another dark truth is that emotions play a crucial role in shaping identity. Every person's personality is influenced by the emotional experiences they've gone through. The challenges, losses, successes, and relationships in life leave emotional impressions that shape how we understand ourselves. Your compassion may come from having experienced pain. Your strength may come from having overcome fear. Your empathy may come from understanding what it feels like to struggle. Emotions are not just reactions to events, they are part of the process through which we grow. If emotions were removed, the process of personal development would slow dramatically. Without emotional feedback, it becomes difficult to learn from experiences. Mistakes would carry no emotional weight. Achievements would bring no sense of pride or satisfaction. Life would become a series of events without emotional significance. But the consequences of emotional deletion go even deeper than personal growth. Emotions are also essential for human connection. Relationships are built on shared emotional experiences. When two people laugh together, support each other during difficult times, or celebrate important milestones, emotional bonding strengthens the relationship. Without emotions, these bonds weaken. Love would no longer drive loyalty. Empathy would no longer encourage kindness. Compassion would no longer motivate support. Interactions between people would become purely practical and transactional. You could still communicate, cooperate, and exchange information. But the deeper sense of connection, the feeling that someone truly cares, would disappear. A world without emotions might appear peaceful on the surface. Without anger or jealousy, conflict might decrease. But something else would disappear as well. Warmth. Human warmth, the subtle emotional connection that exists between people, would slowly fade. And without that warmth, life could begin to feel empty in ways that are difficult to describe. Another important truth is that emotions are deeply tied to motivation. Think about what pushes people to achieve their goals. It's not logic alone. Logic might tell someone that working hard is beneficial, but emotions provide the energy that turns that knowledge into action. Passion fuels creativity. Hope drives persistence during difficult times. Excitement encourages exploration and ambition. Remove these emotional forces, and motivation begins to collapse. People might still perform necessary tasks for survival, but the deeper drive to build, create, explore, and innovate would weaken. History shows that many of humanity's greatest achievements, art, literature, music, scientific breakthroughs, were fueled by intense emotional experiences. Creativity often comes from a desire to express emotions. Without those emotions, much of human culture would lose its inspiration. But perhaps the darkest truth of emotional deletion is this: pain itself plays an important role in life. While no one enjoys suffering, emotional pain often carries important messages. It signals that something in our lives matters deeply. Heartbreak reminds us how much we valued someone. Failure teaches us resilience and adaptation. Regret encourages reflection and growth. Pain pushes people to change situations that are unhealthy or unfulfilling. Without emotional pain, people might remain in harmful circumstances because nothing would push them to seek something better. In many ways, emotional discomfort is what drives transformation. It pushes people to grow, to adapt, and to build stronger lives. When people imagine a life without emotions, they usually picture freedom from suffering. But they rarely consider what else would disappear along with it. Meaning, purpose, connection, passion, love. These experiences exist because humans are capable of feeling deeply. So the real dark truth about emotional deletion is not that we would lose sadness or fear. It's that we would lose the richness that makes life feel worth living. Instead of searching for ways to eliminate emotions, the deeper challenge of being human is learning how to live with them, to understand them, manage them, and allow them to guide us without letting them control us. Because emotions, even the painful ones, are not flaws in the human design. They are part of what makes the human experience meaningful. Emotions can be overwhelming. They can hurt. They can confuse us. They can make life messy and unpredictable. But they also make life beautiful. Every laugh, every meaningful connection, every moment of love exists because we are capable of feeling deeply. So maybe the goal isn't to erase emotions. Maybe the real goal is to understand them, accept them, and grow through them. Because the moment you lose your feelings, you don't just lose pain. You lose what makes life worth living. If this video made you think differently about emotions, leave a comment below. Would you press the button to delete your feelings, or keep them? And if you enjoy deep psychological content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because sometimes the most important truths about life are the ones we try hardest to avoid.